For this video, I'm going to be taking a break from Decipher's flagship Star Wars CCG and focusing on the second Star Wars game they made, Young Jedi, an exclusively Episode 1 game. This box, when I was about halfway through it, I decided, well, I don't know if this is the best way to try to get the last Ultra Rares I need for my set, so I went online and bought a complete set of Duel the Fates for about $30. That was a while ago. Had these packs lying around, and we'll see what else might be in here. I'm going to go through these kind of fast because there's not too many cards. I believe it was either a 40 card set or a 60 card set. But this is, I believe, the second Young Jedi set to introduce effects, which were pretty common in Star Wars CCG, but not so much in Young Jedi. But especially interested in what the rares we might get are, because I don't have that much of this set. Okay, first pack is a Yoda. And it might not be the first set, but this is one of the Young Jedi sets that definitely got into game text for characters. For the most part, it was flavor text like you see down here. But at least a lot of cool pictures, and as everyone knows, Episode 1 is the best Star Wars movie, so it's always good to have cards from that. Might get some comments on that one, or maybe not. Alright, another effect to start out with. Always thought this was a strange looking card. Obi-Wan's hair there. But a lot of good pictures of the lightsaber duel and a Mace Windu. Not quite as valuable as the Decipher one, but still pretty cool card. Young Jedi was focused more on controlling specific planets and doing damage to your opponent. So he was more powerful when you controlled Coruscant, and for the most part, you would battle one-on-one. So Mace, you would have a big stack of characters, your opponent would have a big stack of characters, and you would fight each other. Whoever had the highest power would win. And eventually, once you knocked everybody else's characters off the planet, you'd take control of the planet, and you fought over Naboo, Tatooine, and Coruscant. Another twist of fate. This is a pretty cool picture behind Qui-Gon's lightsaber like that. Okay, and our rare here in Aura Singh. Don't know if I have that many of this one. So if you lost the battle, if your character was fighting another character, you'd have to lose 3 cards from your deck as damage, and just like in Star Wars CCG, you'd have to deplete your opponent's deck to win. Nothing like force draining. It was all about combat. So it was a quick, fun game. I think I remember reading in a scry once that it was mostly about, having something to do in between rounds of Star Wars CCG at a tournament. But I think there was a bit more to it than that. Okay, I think the second time we've seen these 2 in a row. So there might have been some similar patterning here. And a Qui-Gon's lightsaber, one that actually gives a power bonus to Obi-Wan or Qui-Gon. Usually it would be a lightsaber would give, if it was Qui-Gon's lightsaber, it would give a power bonus to Qui-Gon, and then it would say any other Jedi. And that chance cube is a destiny, so you would draw a destiny to add to your power. So Qui-Gon's usually power 6. With his lightsaber, he's got 2 dots, power 8. And then you would draw a destiny, average is probably something like 3.5. So you'd draw a destiny and you'd have power 11, and you'd compare that to your opponent's power. Battle cards would also add to your power. So in this set, this was the first Young Jedi set to introduce Ultra Rares. It's a Maul and a Qui-Gon. And the rumor is there's 1 Ultra Rare in every 4 boxes. I'm not sure if that's true. I just kind of heard that on Facebook at one point, but that would be pretty impressive to get one. We got about half a box here. Okay, that's our rare. So one of the nice things about Young Jedi was that it seemed like, at least in terms of Star Wars CCG, the rares were generally a higher proportion of good characters. So yeah, you could get a Utini, a Jawa interrupt in Star Wars CCG as your rare, but a Young Jedi, usually your rare would be some kind of main character. There were like 3 Queen Amidala's in each set. But here's a Senator, and I guess it's a pretty good one. High Destiny, power +2 at the Galactic Senate, so they had power bonuses at different sites. And those 2 icons there is the deploy cost. This thing would cost 2 of your 6 counters per turn to deploy, and certain effects would let you deploy more. And they had some very abstract weapons. Anakin would be higher power with his pod racer. This is probably the strangest one of all. It's basically a Neimoidian TV. So a Neimoidian with this TV fighting Qui-Gon without one could beat Qui-Gon actually fairly easily. Because the Neimoidians would be 2 power, maybe 4 with that, plus a destiny. Qui-Gon would be 6. Haven't seen a lot of Gungans, but that was maybe more in the previous set, Battle for Naboo. Okay, here's Sidious. And he's got a special game text there, so you can discard him and 3 cards from your hand to draw 3 cards. Seems like kind of a high price to pay, but I guess if you just won a planet, maybe that's a good thing to do. And usually if you win a planet, your characters were stranded there until you transported them off. I'm not sure if there's any transports in this set. There's a Jedi lightsaber from Arasing. But transports, you would basically have, the dark side would have like the Trade Federation battleships, the light side would have those Red Republic cruisers, and you would try to transport all of your characters back into your reserve deck. If your opponent had a fighter, they could try to shoot down your transport and kill everyone on board. The fighters usually had damage 0, so if you lost your fighter, nothing would happen. But the stronger fighters had damage on them, so if you lost your stronger fighter, yeah, it was nice to put in a stronger fighter, but if you lost it, you'd have to take damage as well. But sometimes it was a pain to transport people off the planet. Another view screen. This is pretty cool, kind of like the current Side-Tor, Calfas, and the Star Wars CCG. You discard this card after you play a Jedi to get their lightsaber out. They'd be pretty tough to beat then. And speaking of lightsabers, here's one of Qui-Gon's again. Okay, that's interesting. 3 lightsabers, 1 pack. Definitely never seen that before. The other thing about these is the diamond is kind of the opposite of Star Wars CCG. Diamond meant non-unique, so you could have as many of those as you want. And the unique cards were stackable, which meant you could play as many of them as you wanted on a planet, but you couldn't have some on one planet and some on another planet at the same time. At least that's how I remember it. So you could play 3 Obi-Wans on Tatooine, and then you could have him battle 3 times in the battle phase. And I guess the other thing about stacking is, yeah, if you have 3 Obi-Wans on Tatooine, you've pretty much got to try to transport them off before you can play Obi-Wans on the next planet. And the first player to win 2 planets would win. So I guess there was 2 ways to win. You could win 2 of the 3 planets, or you could defeat your opponent by getting rid of their entire deck. Pounded unto death. A great scene from a great movie. Ah, okay, Panaka. I do like him. And he's got, similar to the Star Wars CCG, same picture too, he can deploy his blaster right from the reserve deck. Draw deck, I guess they call it. Another Pounded unto death, same pack. Earning a lot of Young Jedi points this time. What is that, probably 5 times 17, so almost 185 or so. I wonder if they'll still let me redeem those. Pretty cool picture. Pumas. Don't know if I've seen that yet. This one. Another Yoda. So let's see. It says 58, so maybe there's 60 cards in this set, or maybe up to 70. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, it's a pretty small set, so we're going to see a lot of duplicates this time. And I think this is a pretty cool card. So each character has a damage stat on them. So if you win, your opponent takes 2 extra. If you lose, you take 1 extra. So a bit of a risk, a bit of a gamble, but if you win the fight, you can cause them to take extra damage. What I like to do is play a lot of R2-D2s. He was Destiny 6, and he was deploy 2. Terrible power. He wasn't a fighter, but he had damage 0, so you could just put him in there to soak a hit, and hopefully you would get your R2-D2 against their fully loaded Darth Maul. That was fun to do. Okay, another one of those odd rares, a taxi driver. For some reason they added, I think this is the guy that was in the Theed Palace set as well, or maybe that was Bach Askell, I always get him mixed up, but yeah, it was always strange to me how they thought this guy was pretty cool and wanted to make a special card out of him. He was an uncommon, I believe, in the Star Wars CCG, and a rare here. There's a bisected Maul. Of course, as we all know, he survived, because who wouldn't survive that? Best decision ever. And in that one, the Valorum we just saw, I'll go back to him, it's actually a common. So sort of similar to what WOTC ended up doing, Wizard of the Coast. Sometimes they made not so great versions of the unique characters in order to get people, you could at least have an Obi-Wan to play, have a Luke to play, whereas in Star Wars CCG, at least at the height of it, if you wanted to get a Vader, you'd have to pay, $30-40 at least. Of course, I don't know if you got the EPP ones, the ones with lightsabers, it wasn't that bad. Alright, so there's an R2-D2, probably my favorite Young Jedi card. So while he's on the table, he subtracts 1 from the damage each of your transport ship. So if you're trying to escape a planet and your transport gets blown up, he'll subtract 1 from whatever the total would have been. That's a pretty sweet picture. He's holding down the fort. And this one's pretty cool. If the destiny of your character is less than the opponent's destiny, add power bonus equal to the difference. This became a pretty big deal when they started to release the enhanced products. So kind of like how they had Enhanced Premier, Enhanced Cloud City. They had these really overpowered characters that had a destiny of 6, if I recall correctly. So if you were using the old classic characters, like the Qui-Gon Jinn with a destiny of 2, you'd add a power bonus to sort of even that out. And the other thing is each of these cards has a colored dot. So yellow were battle cards, basically interrupts from the other game. Green, blue, and red were characters usually. Weapons were orange. And I forget what the last... Oh, purple, I believe, was the ships. And maybe there was something else that was purple. But you were supposed to do, I believe, 10 of each. But I think the enhanced cards, those all had just white dots, so you could use them for anything. And a lot of this is based on memory. I mean, I've kind of played a few casual games at wedding receptions or whatever, because what else are you going to do at a wedding reception? But I don't know if we ever did play the white dots correctly. I think the last Young Jedi game I played was probably about 5 years ago, maybe more. Still cool cards to look at. Okay, and a rare Starfighter droid. So this is a character, but it basically lets you switch it into a Starfighter, which can be nice in a pinch if you need to intercept somebody when they're trying to transport. Just a few more packs here. Looks like about 5, which is just in time because my phone let me know I'm out of juice almost. So this one lets you use a STAP and a battle droid that has a battle droid rifle on it, so just kind of shooting off the side of it. I think I've done that in Battlefield 1942 a few times. Okay, and Obi-Wan. Don't think I've seen him yet. And Obi-Wan was almost always number 1 in the set, because they actually numbered the cards here until you got into Boonta Eve, where I believe Anakin was number 1 in the set, the Ultra Rare. No Ultra Rares yet, probably the odds are against us, but still have a few more chances. Okay, a different Starfighter. I didn't realize they made these many of these. I think that's kind of a cool mechanic. It's a low destiny, but you can use the damage number to replace the destiny number. So if Darth Maul is drawing a destiny for his lightsaber, he was usually damage 5, so you could use 5 as the destiny. And there were no used interrupts in this game. It was all basically lost interrupts or lost battle cards. As soon as you used it, it got discarded. Made for some pretty quick games. Another Panaka, nice. And as the set name would suggest, there's a lot of pictures of that power generator room duel, which of course is the best scene of Phantom Menace in my opinion. Other than the Jar Jar humor, who could say no to that? When his tongue got stuck in the energy binders, my goodness. Okay, another Senator Rare, and we go down to one pack after this one. So we'll see what happens. If nothing else, I have now doubles of a lot of cards I didn't have before. Here's our last pack. And our last rare is another Starfighter Red. Well, we did get quite a few mains though, so that was pretty good. And there's Qui-Gon getting skewered, so that might be a good one to end on. One of my favorite characters for sure, but not the best way to go out. Well, next video I'll probably be opening up a first anthology that I have here. Quite a few different things in it, so be sure to check in for that. And thanks for watching.